morning and welcome to the Mayor's Weekly News Conference. For this week's agenda, we are focusing on 4 announcements regarding the fact that odd-even parking resumes today. Second, the 200th anniversary celebration of the Erie Land Lighthouse this weekend. The upcoming Model United Nations at Gannon University, and the start of a sustainable forest management program. And now I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Renee, and good morning, everyone. We begin by reminding all residents that our odd-even parking will, for the winter season, goes into effect today and will run through March 31st. And that runs from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. This is not normally, this restriction is not normally enforced on the weekends unless we have a severe weather event that occurs. At that point, we would declare a state of emergency and ask residents to abide by the odd-even parking so that we can more effectively remove the snow. Also, please note that December and January both end on the 31st. What this means is there'll be 2 consecutive days where residents have to park on the same side of the street, since the 31st and the 1st of the following month are both odd days. Next, I want to draw everyone's attention to celebrating our past to light up our future, which is a celebration of the 200th anniversary of the Erie Land Lighthouse. And I would like to ask the students participating in that to come up and join me to talk about this. As I talk about this a little bit, you can come up and be with. I'm sorry. Just a little confused. So anyway, the event I'm talking about, which is the celebration of the Erie Land Lighthouse 200th anniversary, takes place this Saturday, November 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The lighthouse is one of Erie's most notable historic sites. It's located at 1200 Lighthouse Street, which is at the foot of Lighthouse Street, which is 3 blocks east of East Avenue. On November 6, 1818, Erie's first lighthouse keeper, Captain John Bone, lit the oil wick that illuminated the United States' first land lighthouse on the Great Lakes. Although twice rebuilt, the current lighthouse, which was built 150 years ago, over that, in 1867, attracts thousands of tourists to Erie every year. The event is free and open to the public. The program will begin at 11:45 with the Bayfront Brass Quintet playing. It will be followed by presentations by Michael Furman, McDowell High School Junior ROTC, Patrick Scatella, Michael Sullivan, and myself. There will be at this event Smith's hot dogs, hot chocolate, birthday cake, live music, and tours of the lighthouse as well. If you've lived in Erie all your life and have never seen the Land Lighthouse, this is a great chance for you. It's a rare opportunity to get inside and climb up the steps, the 49-foot catwalk, to get up to the catwalk for a breathtaking view of our harbor entrance, Presque Isle State Park, as well as Gull Point. I hope to see everyone there. Our third topic now is the Model United Nations. I'd like to ask the students to come up and join me as we talk about this a little bit. It takes place this Friday and Saturday, November 2nd and 3rd. Gannon's Model United Nations, this is very interesting, it's the longest running, consecutively running Model United Nations in the United States. It was founded to promote the understanding of the complex problems for international affairs as well as the purposes and functions of the United Nations. The Gannon Model UN draws together about 500 students from about 40 different schools in the tri-state area. It's quite an event. In the spring or early fall, the delegations are assigned a country designation and encouraged to begin studying the issues which will be under consideration in the forthcoming assembly. During the fall, the members of the delegation meet in regional blocks to begin to debate the issues and to formulate strategies for the General Assembly. As much as possible, the students will learn the viewpoint of the country that they represent, and they're to attempt to speak and vote according to the interests of that country. Now here to tell us a little bit more about it is Secretary General Mohammed Al-Sahali. Mohammed, thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. So my name is Mohammed Al-Sahlani. I'll be the Secretary General for Gannon University's 66th Model United Nations High School Conference, which actually starts tomorrow. So this year, our team, myself and my Assistant Secretary General, Megan Schindeldecker, and Dr. Sahai, We were able to come up with 8 different committees that the students will engage on and discuss some topics. And right now I just wanted to break down the committees and how they relate to today's world. So the first one is the General Assembly one, which would be peace and security, and we decided to go with combating the use of child soldiers to ensure the safety of the youth globally. So today we still see child soldiers as a problem, and a problem that's almost like forgotten, but there still hasn't been a final solution to ending child soldiers. We see them a lot in Central and Sub-Saharan Africa, and it's been decades has been going on. We also, with this committee, we're taking consideration what can be done to prevent child soldiers in enlisting in military operations, as well as the rehabilitation of child soldiers once they're done performing heinous actions. Today, this is also still relevant. It was addressed a few weeks ago at the Security Council by our current Secretary General, Nikki Haley, in which she spoke about foreign governments funding child soldiers and what we should be doing about that globally. Our second topic, which is also General Assembly, economic and financial, is establishing reforms of the World Trade Organization to update current trade regulations. We do know that trade has been going on for centuries between nations, and money definitely makes the world go around. And trade can either cause negative or positive consequences between intercultural relationships and communities. Trade reforms definitely need to be taken into consideration, as trading relations between a few countries can ultimately affect the rest of the world. On a bigger aspect, we see this today with based on the United States and China's sanctions that they have with one another, and how that can cause a detriment to today's society. Our third committee is the General Assembly, which is humanitarian, and we chose the promoting the role of nations to prevent the act of ethnic cleansing. Today we see the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar that occurred earlier this year. Not as much action was taken towards them, as they weren't just, it wasn't just a genocide, but it was more of moving the Muslims out of the country. And also, how can we stop radicalism? Not just the genocide and the moving away of the specific ethnicities, but how do we stop the ideology of radicalism in itself? And what can we do about nations influencing their own people to commit genocide and heinous acts such as ethnic cleansing onto their people? Our fourth committee is also General Assembly, which is environmental, and we chose this year is empowering youth for sustainable development and addressing the dangers of pollution in order to have a safer and cleaner environment. We do know today global warming is still a main issue, as we know with it's caused of our environment as well as air pollution. In ways we need to know in ways how we can limit this in order to have a better future. Also, we need to keep up to date with the Paris Climate Accords on how we can expand it. As we know, that was signed in 2016 by several nations, and in order to prevent the use of greenhouse gases around the world in order to sustain a cleaner environment. Now, how can we build on that? Our fifth committee is General Assembly, which deals with health, and I like this one a lot. It's improving responses and coordination in addressing mental health in young people today. So right now we see an uprising in depression and suicide among the younger generations around the world. And myself being a young person, I definitely feel that this needs to be looked at, especially like people are taking their lives away at such a young age. We need to know how better ways could we shape our own nations into how do we deal with someone from having a better mental health. So that's all for the General Assemblies. Our sixth committee is ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council, and that's addressing the social and economic consequences of religious intolerance. We do know just earlier this week, unfortunately, anti-Semitism is still an issue today, as we saw with the unfortunate events that occurred at the Tree of Life Congregation Synagogue in Pittsburgh and how close that hit to home. And our prayers are still with the families of the victims today. This goes to show that religious intolerance is still an issue and still needs to be addressed and can happen anywhere, even in the United States, not just in poorer and underdeveloped regions. Freedom of religion still is a right and should be exercised by all nations, and unfortunately isn't today. Our seventh committee is Historical Security Council. The year we picked is 2002, and we wanted the students to talk about ways in thinking about how we could have prevented possibly Iraq War, or ways that the nations could have looked at that in a different aspect. Also, we wanted to see how we could have prevented the Darfur genocide of 2003. And our final committee is the Security Council. So that is all current events that the students will discuss. Anything that was thrown to them is going on today where they'll be prepared. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very good. Excellent presentation, Secretary General Mohammed. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for being here. Also, thanks to Anjali Sahai, Doctor, who is the Associate Professor of Political Science at Gannon and heads up this program. You can tell from what the Secretary General presented. There's going to be a lot of things they're going to be talking and learning about. It's a lot more than I learned in college, I can tell you that for sure. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, yes, let's give them one more round of applause. It's going to be a great Friday and Saturday. Finally, the last topic on the agenda, I'm happy to announce that we are embarking on a sustainable forest management program. Residents may not realize this, but the city of Erie has over 150 acres of wooded parks and properties with no sustainability program currently in place. We have begun to work with Ron Weinstein of Advanced Forestry and the Foundation for Sustainable Forests, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. The foundation approach is, quote, sustains forested ecosystems and urban forests and provides opportunities for education, recreation, and research. We will partner with the Foundation for Sustainable Forests in 3 ways. First, we'll develop a sustainability program for our urban forests. Second, they'll provide education and outreach about sustainable forestry management to our citizens. And third, we'll take the lead on being an example for other municipalities on efforts to implement sustainable management practices in our parks. City officials will be available to discuss this program with neighbors. And so now I'd like to ask Sarah Galloway, the city arborist, and Annie Sochi from the Foundation for Sustainable Forests to come up and tell us more. Also, I want to recognize Greg Dunkel, who's a forester and land management person from down near the Union City area, right? It's a little south of there. And Jane Woods from Erie, they're both on the board as well for this program. So,
thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about starting this program. Our forests face many threats today, such as invasive species from climate change, plus many other impacts from being an urban forest as opposed to wooded areas in more rural areas. These impacts are facing our forests, whether we like to admit it or not, and our past policies of just leaving them untouched is not really enough to keep them healthy any longer. Through the thoughtful development of a sustainable management plan, it's our goal that we can help our forests become stronger and more diverse and more resilient to current and future threats. And we're very grateful to the Foundation for Sustainable Forests for partnering with us as we work to develop this plan. Our goals for developing the plan include protecting and cultivating native plant diversity and improving habitat diversity and quality for our songbirds and wildlife, and also to removing invasive species, and of course creating a long-term plan for the lifetime of the forest, which is much longer than the lifetime of any one of us. Overall, we plan to take a holistic approach, making decisions that are good for the forest, and therefore they'll also be good for our community that surrounds the forest and are a part of them. Now I'd like Annie to go ahead and speak. Annie's from the Foundation for Sustainable Forests.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Schember, for your enthusiasm for the project and for the pun, the embarking pun. That was a good one. and thank you to Sarah for your enthusiasm and for bringing us into this project and giving us a tour of Erie's wooded parks. There really are some hidden gems in the city that I was never aware of myself. We are very excited, the Foundation for Sustainable Forests, we're very excited about this partnership and the opportunity to work with the city of Erie on this project. As Mayor Schember said, the Foundation for Sustainable Forests is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded to protect and steward forests in the region. Given the many ways that forests are impacted negatively by human activities, we seek to highlight ways that we can have a positive impact on our forests, using a unique management approach that aims to improve a forest's overall health, resilience, and vigor and diversity relative to present and future threats. Although we are only beginning the assessment and planning phase of this initiative, some anticipated activities include the controlling of the spread of invasive species, fostering a healthy diversity of native plants and habitat for wildlife, and also providing educational opportunities about sustainable forest management through interpretive signs and guided woods walks. As we develop our plan, we look forward to meeting with neighborhood groups surrounding these wooded parks, as well as seeking input from Erie area groups such as the Erie Bird Observatory and I Am a Planet Kid, as well as the Pennsylvania DCNR's Bureau of Forestry. The lifespan of a forest is so much greater than any of the people who steward it, and we see this partnership as an opportunity to develop a plan that will benefit Erie's wooded parks and the communities that enjoy them, both now and for the future. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sarah, Annie, Guy, and Jane. Really appreciate the work you're doing. This is really a great opportunity to promote the health and vitality of our wooded areas and in our urban forests, and also keep residents safe. Rather than waiting for diseased trees to potentially fall and damage property or people, this enables us to proactively remove diseased and dying trees so that we can recoup some of their value of that wood and reinvest that money then back in the urban forest. But here's what really impresses me most about this project. It's kind of the way it happened. In order to fulfill our mission to build opportunity, restore hope, and transform Erie, we're trying to change the culture here at City Hall. We want citizens to experience world-class treatment anytime they visit or call City Hall. But beyond that, we want staff to feel empowered to use their knowledge and skills to improve the city. Sarah Galloway and Chuck Zist did exactly this. They came to me a few weeks ago to describe this project to me. They presented all the details to me very clearly, and I could see how this partnership really allows us to improve the city's urban forests. I expect this to happen at no cost to the taxpayers. It is a huge step forward in creating the welcoming, vibrant neighborhoods that is part of our vision. So I want every citizen to feel empowered, and I want every employee of the city to feel empowered to build opportunity, restore hope, just like has just been done here. And thanks again to Sarah, Chuck, and everyone that's been involved in setting a great example of how we can do this. There is one additional announcement I want to make that we didn't announce ahead of time. You're going to see some changes in the police department over the next 30 days. In response to requests from several officers, including Detective William Bailey, Police Chief Dan Spazzarni has declared this No Shave November. In exchange for a $20 contribution to a charity, our police will be permitted to grow beards during November. My understanding is there's about 100 policemen that have paid the $20 and will be participating. And I'm also want to announce that I've paid my $20, so you'll see some changes in me over the next 30 days as well. So that wraps up our press conference today. If there's any questions, we'll certainly be happy to take them. And everyone that presented today will be available for interviews as well afterwards. Thanks very much for being here. Appreciate it.